Welcome to a sunny and warm Knockhill racing circuit for the penultimate round of the Scottish Classic Sports and Saloons and the Scottish Sports and Saloons. Race number 1 is lined up behind me in the holding bay, and as you can see, we have a great selection of classic cars heading out on track. I'm going to hand this one to Richard and he's going to take you through the starting order.
A wonderful eclectic mix of cars for you in the Classics, as Joe said. And pole position going to joint championship leader Andrew Smith, Shonny Patterson alongside, Stan Bernard third, the other joint championship leader Robert Marshall fourth, then it's Ray Boyd and John Marshall, Harry Simpson and Alex Montgomery on row 4, followed by Tim Reed and Tom Wilson, then it's George Leach and Christy Doran, they're followed by Ian Blacklin and Andy Walker, with Cameron Gilmore and Nick Boys completing 16-car grid. Nick Boys, the Class A championship leader, didn't get a lap in the Mini in qualifying, so has got a bit of work to do in the 4-car strong Class A. Lights on and ready for round 15 of the championship. Away they go. A great start by Andrew Smith in the Morgan. The Morgan plus 8 leads, and into second place goes Stan Bernard, challenged by Shonny Patterson. Patterson gets his nose in front in the TR8. Remember, running in the slightly bigger Class E for 3.6 litre, and over cars a lock up from John Marshall in the number 3 white Escort, bringing the numbers in Class C up to 3, which means maximum points for his brother Robert Marshall, if he can finish the race, of course, in first position. This is the view from the onboard camera for Nick Boys, car number 45, starting stone last, dicing with Andy Walker in the Triumph Sport ahead of us. We've got Cameron Gilmore in the yellow A30 down behind them at the moment, 4th in class. Ahead of them you can see George Leach in the 1420cc Class A Ford Fiesta. He's the class leader at the moment, and dicing with the Tom Wilson Ford Escort RS, the number 20, the white car. So down across the line they go. Ray Boyd in the blue Porsche 911 chasing Robert Marshall. Numbers absolutely crucial for each class here, and Robert Marshall tied on points with Andrew Smith in the championship. Had we only had 2 entries in Class C, then Andrew Smith would have taken, of course, maximum points, 25 points for a win, as opposed to 12 points. If there are lower entries, you get less points, and that, I think, is why former champion John Marshall is back out with us. It's great to see 2 Marshall Escorts on circuit. Up ahead of Robert at the moment, we've got Stan Bernard running in Class D. Wonderful to see Stan racing again, reigning champion, hence the number 1 on the car. Class D for 2.3 litres up to 3.6. So it's Class C and E, the overall championship leaders. Nick Boys in Class A, the Mini you saw, is leading Class A. He's 3rd in the championship. And Ray Boyd in the blue Porsche 4th. Kieran Bailey not racing with us this weekend in the Mark 1 Escort 5th. I think is probably just about there on his championship. Jimmy Crowe 6th, then Ian Morton. George Leach 2nd in his class is running joint 8th in the championship with fast lady racer, rookie racer Christy Doran, the young teenager in the TR8 who's done so well this year. So Stan Bernard coming under a bit of pressure from Robert Marshall in the Escort. Shonny Patterson in 2nd, Stan 3rd. He's going to take some points away here from Ray Boyd, who impressed us all on day 1 of the touring car support meeting here in teeming rain. Led for much of the race, thought he was going to take a first overall win, but got pipped at the post. It was a good drive nonetheless. Got involved with Shonny Patterson in race number 2. The guy's certainly not afraid to mix it in these machines, and believe me, there's some serious money on the grid here. Now here's a tenuous, I was going to talk about the tenuous link between the Ginetta G4 of Harry Simpson and the white Escort, but we'll come back to that because this is Nick Boys, 3rd in class at the moment in the Mini Cooper. Up the hill we go, the car prepared by Gordon Rogers, race engine by Neil Slark, a man who has been so successful in the BRSCC Mighty Mini Championship. At the moment in the number 6 Fiesta, and trying to get himself on terms with Tom Wilson. Wilson not overly defensive, of course the car's running in different classes. Good to see the battle, these two dicing for 8th place on track at the moment. Nick Boy's down behind them in a minute. There comes Nick into shot in the background, you can see, working hard as ever. And Nick, who would no doubt be doing a rain dance, comes from Haddington in the 1330cc Morris Mini Cooper S, a car that he's had incidentally for a long time, and he's looked after it, and he's still looking after it even on the racetrack. There's Cameron Gilmore in the Austin A30 running 4th in Class A at the moment. Through goes Stan Bernard. Nice sideways shot there of Robert Marshall, who continues to hang on to 4th place in the race. Then it's Ray Boyd coming under pressure now from Harry Simpson in the little Ginetta. Wonderful to see Ginetta still thriving, certainly in racing, under the guidance of Managing Director Lawrence Tomlinson, a great character and a terrific businessman, Lawrence. Through goes Andy Smith, still in the race lead, down into past Christy Doran. So Christy running well, doing well in the championship too. Christy up in the top 10, daughter of John Doran, the Scottish Sun sports editor. Massive supporters of Scottish motor racing. Let's hope that we see Christy back racing again next year as she builds on her experience. This is an unusual choice for a young driver, but she's acquitted herself so well as part of the TR8 squadron. Shawnee Patterson not part of the squadron, he's got his own TR8, but Christy the flag bearer for that this weekend as we go on board with Nick Boys again in the Mini. Not ideal conditions for him, but he always manages to make a good few passes. The biggest and best beard in British motor racing, Nick Boys. You've got to come and see it. Down into Scotsman corner we go with Nick. Still out front, and leading the class though is George Leach in the 1420cc Fiesta. This gives you a real idea of just how hard it is to pedal this Mini around here, and the concentration for Nick Boys absolutely phenomenal. Started 16th, he's made up a couple of positions already, dealt with Andy Walker up ahead of Cameron Gilmore, ahead of Ian Blacklin in the Fiesta, as well the Golf liveried Fiesta. And Nick down the railway straight into the tribal section, into the hairpin. You can see up ahead still George Leach trying to close down on Tom Wilson in the Escort. So this is second position in class at the moment for Nick Boys. It's Ian Morton second in class. I don't think there's any doubt that Nick Boys is going to win Class A. He's a few points down, 32 points down on Andy Smith and Robert Marshall, so the championship's still a possibility. Ian Blacklin about to be lapped by Stan Bernard. We go back to Shawnee Patterson in car number 88. Shawnee from Arrochar going into Scotsman corner, and certainly keeping Andrew Smith honest at the moment. Andrew Smith can't afford to rest on his laurels. The South Park backed car, Iron Brew on the back, is a massively entertaining car to see here. Shawnee, an ex-rally man, really knows how to pedal it, and this is wonderful to see him taking the battle back to Andrew Smith. The RPM prepared car still running well and being driven exceptionally well by Andrew Smith. I think he's going to go away with the fastest lap out of this one again. But Ian Patterson, to give him his formal name, still there in second place. Up across the line they go. There is the race leader. Second position overall, landing Class E onto his last lap. Shawnee Patterson second, Stan Bernard still in third, Robert Marshall in fourth place. George Leach has retired from the race. That means that Nick Boys is going to lead Class A. Tim Reed didn't start in the Marcos, and Harry Simpson's gone in the Ginetta, so that means that we're going to have nobody finishing in Class B. Class C led by Robert Marshall, D led by Stan Bernard from Ray Boyd. I think that's covering the class options just to make sure that they all get some sort of mention. There's the Triumph Sport of Andy Walker, who's going to be second in class. You can see he's not that far away from Nick Boys, but Andy Smith goes through. Isn't it amazing that Nick Boys is going to bring home the Mini Cooper on the same lap as the race leader? There is Nick Boys. Tom Wilson goes across the line. Here's Nick Boys to win Class A. He's got another lap before he wins it. No, he has won it because the second man in Class A has taken the flag, as has Andrew Smith. Another win. He maintains the championship lead. Let's have a look and see if we can see Robert Marshall. Here he is, Robert Marshall. He retains the joint championship lead too in the Mark II Escort. Raymond Boyd is going to finish in 5th place, and he christened him Boys there. But Ray Boyd in 5th place ahead of John Marshall in Class C in his Escort. There is the stricken car of George Leach, who was leading Class A, but Andy Smith takes the win. Johnny Patterson 2nd, Stan Bernard 3rd, Robert Marshall 4th from Ray Boyd, John Marshall in 6th place. Then Alex Montgomery, Tom Wilson in the Escort, Nick Boys in the Mini in 9th, a Class A win for him. Andy Walker 10th, and then Ian Blacklin. Christy Doran in 12th place, and 13th was Cameron Gilmore in the Austin A30.
And Andy, the winner again. How many times is that this year?
I don't know.
Lost count of the wins.
Kinda, yeah, but it was a good close race. Shawnee's going really quick these days, so it was full on the whole time.
Yeah, you had your hands full at the end of the race. You started to come back to you. Were you just easing it off to get it home and then thought, oh, I better get a move on?
No, tyres started to go. They go quite quickly, you know, trying to. They just started moving about quite a bit, so I think it caught up then. So.
And some hot conditions. I noticed you've got your double layered fleece on underneath the race suit.
Yes, bad choice there. I think it sounded like a good one at the time, but not halfway through the race.
Well done, you're creeping closer to that championship.
Cheers. Thank you, Joe.
Welcome to another episode of Racing No Filter. Joining me in sunny California, Bill Wood, and down in sunny Florida, Peter Keene.
We're going to take a look at some of the products HPD has created for the 2012 Honda Civic, and specifically we're going to show you how to install an adjustable sway bar.
Until then, folks out there, you take care.
Want to keep up with all the racing action at the track? Well, download the new GoRacingTV iPhone and Android app. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
The final Scottish Classic Sport Saloons race is about to begin, and on pole position is Andy Smith's beautiful looking Morgan. I'm going to hand this to Richard upstairs and he'll take you through the starting order.
Pole position, Andrew Smith in the Morgan +8 with Johnny Patterson due to line up 2nd, Stan Bernard 3rd, Robert Marshall on the outside of row 2, followed by Ray Boyd and John Marshall. Alex Montgomery 7th with Tom Wilson to his outside, then Nick Boys and Andy Walker, Ian Blacklin P11, Christy Doran on the outside, then Cameron Gilmore and George Leach, Harry Simpson and Tim Reed completing the scheduled grid, but a few non-starters in race number 2, including Johnny Patterson, George Leach, Harry Simpson and Tim Reed not with us, but we're getting ready for the start. Lights on! It's a longish wait here, and away they go. Cracking start then on the lone front row runner. Andy Smith leads away. In 2nd place, Stan Bernard. 3rd place is Robert Marshall, followed by his brother John. Then up the inside, Ray Boyd in the Porsche 911 gets a little bit squirrely going down into Duffer's Dip for the first time. He's recovered it all by the time they get to Scotsman, but it's John Marshall in car number 3 gets ahead of Ray Boyd, then Alex Montgomery in the MGB GT, making it 3 starters in Class E. I was worried for a moment that we weren't going to have enough for Andrew Smith to take full points along with Robert Marshall, so if those two win their classes again, it will be joint championship lead going into the last event of the 2012 season. So those two guys, the Morgan, the black Morgan and the white and yellow Mark II Escort, the championship leaders, running in separate classes as we explained in race number 1. And they've got to do it all again. It's been a long season. This is round 17 of the 18. They've supported the British Touring Car Championship twice to very appreciative audiences, and this is the view from John Marshall looking down the inside of Ray Boyd as they come to Scotsman. Not quite room there, different handling characteristics of course, Porsche to Escort. Ray Boyd's driving the wet at the touring car meeting. I've got to say, one of the finest drives I've seen him do. Porsche's difficult in the dry, but in the wet it's probably one of the last cars I'd want to drive in the wet, and he put in a magnificent drive there, and you can see racing hard again today. But he's got Stan Bernard out against him today, and Stan, of course, the noted expert in Porsches and twice champion, reigning champion. Great to see him back out. Up the hill we go again, on board with John Marshall in this rally spec car, which is still delivering the goods. Brayon Engineering preparing that car, and John giving us his onboard footage to give us a super view as it comes down into Dufferstep, a bit far back at the moment from Ray Boyd. But here's Nick Boyes leading Class A. We move him up a class, we make it a bit more difficult for him. Handicapping certainly beat ballasting. So Nick Boyes leading Class A and heading for yet another win in Class A. Now in this one, he's got 3 starters as well. Andy Walker, of course, in the Triumph Sports, thinking about George Leach not taking part in this one. So we've got 3 starters in class here as well. Nick, championship-wise, suffering because there was in round 10 only 2 entrants, but he's run so well, and you can see how well that car's going. He's got himself ahead of the Class C car of Tom Wilson in the white and blue Escort Mark 1. So Escort V Mini, standard 70s fare, and you can see on the side of the car the word Crow, Jimmy Crow's car it is actually. Nice to see Tom Wilson driving it. Jimmy normally running with 21, so just a subtle change to the number for this weekend. Jimmy Crow running 6 in the championship. He's had 3 non-finishes so far this year. The Dunfermline base race. Christy Doran goes through, and there is Cameron Gilmore in the Austin A30 enjoying his run. If you're wondering what sort of cars you could bring to the party, it's open to cars built pre-1980, so anything up to 31/12/1979, and anything built after 1947. That's the age range. It's a huge age range, and all sorts of cars will be considered for the championship. In terms of whether the cars are original spec, well, there's some cars that have been tinkered with, shall we say, but it doesn't detract from the overall attractiveness of the championship. Here's the Mini of Nick Boyes having a bit of a race on his own, who just wants to try and keep the Escort behind him at the moment. Some work to do to bring the car home past the FFDR stand, often the point of shelter here on the occasional wet day that we get here up at Knockhill Circuit. Wonderful place to watch, particularly as you see the cars spear down from Railway Straight. You can't see them come down Railway Straight, and they just burst into sight, and you wonder how they're going to jam the anchors up before they get into the hairpin. Andrew untroubled in this one. He had Shonny Patterson behind him in race 1. Shonny non-starting here. Cameron Gilmore in the Class A car, about to be gobbled up and lapped for the first time. The Class A car's running so well when you think that little A30, 1380cc, Ian Blacklin ahead of him running in Class B in the Golf liveried Fiesta. There goes Ian across the line. What a great performance from the A30. A terrific drive from Cameron Gilmore. Great preparation on the car. He's only lost a lap to that Big Morgan. That is absolutely incredible. Here's the view from John Marshall again. On board with John. Chasing down Ray Boyd. Ray once again inch perfect in the blue Porsche 911. Going defensive, you can see that. He doesn't need to defend, they're in separate classes, but he's enjoying his race. That's the absolute key thing about this championship. Even if you're racing against someone in a different class, you'll still battle for position and enjoy that part of it, and that's really, really important for Ray Boyd. You can see defensive again, tighter line, into Carloon corner. And John Marshall at the moment frustrated in his efforts. They're coming up on Cameron Gilmore's car. Cameron pulls to the outside line. Ray Boyd's through safe and sound, so too is John Marshall. Wouldn't have expected anything else, of course, of Cameron. So more terrific driving from him. Not only the fact that he's only been lapped the once, and I don't think he's going to get lapped again before the end of the race. We haven't got that much time left. But also very good driving etiquette, race etiquette, which we're going to see from Ian Blacklin as well on the outside of the circuit. So well done to Ian Blacklin and Cameron Gilmore on their performances, and Ray Boyd and John Marshall giving us some wonderful action in Porsche and Escort Mark II respectively. Down Dufferstep, Marshall taking the wider line, the faster line as they go through Scotsman. Is that going to afford him more momentum into the chicane? No, it doesn't. Here's the climb up through the chicane. Blind brow here. Marshall strikes a lovely pose, popping a couple of wheels over the curbs. That'll be great for the photographers, a very popular place here. Hard on the brakes, you can see John Marshall still trying hard, not too far away from his brother who's still leading the class and jointly the championship. I think it is all going to come down to the last round. We've absolutely no reason to suspect that Andrew Smith or Robert Marshall, with their immaculately prepared cars, are going to do anything less than take maximum points from this race. There's Andrew Smith at the head of the field. The winning margin in race number 1, 2.2 seconds. I think it's going to be closer this time. Stan Bernard keeping him honest. But again, it won't be a concern because the second place Class E car is Alex Montgomery, and he's about to half a minute behind the race leader at the moment. Ray Boyd still in 4th place. John Marshall putting him under pressure in the Escort. That's Christy Doran, who's in 9th place on the road, the young teenager. One of many very good lady racers that we've got in the Scottish Motor Racing Club. We've got a ladies' championship in the minis. Carol Brown, of course, racing in the Legends Championship. Ex-ladies Formula Ford winner, ladies mini champion, former Legends champion as well. It'd be nice to see Christy race against some of the other ladies, maybe in the minis, perhaps a guest driver or something could be sorted out. But she's done a super job this year in that TR8. 3.9 litres, and teenage lady driver. I really do take my hat off to her. So Andy Walker in the Triumph Sport about to be lapped as well. The number 10 car, slightly tighter line going down, makes Andy Walker work hard to go past, but Andrew Smith, hard to go past onto his last lap. Stan Bernard very close indeed in 2nd place. So it's Morgan from Porsche, Ford Escort RS in 3rd, all championship and class leaders. Ray Boyd championship leader, I beg his pardon, in terms of Class D. But Stan Bernard, former champion, keeping Andrew Smith honest on this last lap here at Knockhill. The Scottish Classic Sports and Saloons are going to go to the wire at the last meeting because it's joint championship lead for this man, Andrew Smith, in the Morgan Plus 8, who climbs up the hill and takes the championship lead jointly into the last round. There he is, he takes the flag. The man that he shares the championship lead with crosses the line now. That's Robert Marshall, who finishes 3rd. Another class win for him. Ray Boyd in 4th ahead of John Marshall. Alex Montgomery will take 4th. There is Christy Doran. Another finish for Christy, who is joint 8th in the championship now with George Leach. So who'd have thought that at the start of the year? Brilliant for her. Ian Blacklin and Cameron Gilmore having a race to the flag. Ian Blacklin takes 10th, Cameron in 11th, and we'll take stock of the overall result. Andrew Smith, there he is, win and fastest lap, pole position at start of meeting 2. Stan Bernard wins Class D, he's 2nd from Robert Marshall, Class C winner, and then Ray Boyd, John Marshall, Alex Montgomery in 6th. He takes 2nd in Class E. Class A goes again to Nick Boys in the Mini. Great entertainment from him. Tom Wilson 7th, ahead of Christy Doran. Then Ian Blacklin in 10th, and Cameron Gilmore, he comes home 2nd in Class A in the Austin A30. But it's a joint championship lead going into the last round.
And one of my favourite people to speak to, Nick, you've always got something interesting to tell me after a race. Somebody tells me you didn't have a clutch.
You know, I had hydraulic failure, easy for you to say, hydraulic failure of the clutch again. So I did all of that race just banging up and down the gears on the dog box. No, it's built for it. You know, the man who builds the engine says it's 50 quid per clutchless change. So I've kind of rung up a fair amount today.
Were you counting?
I wasn't counting and I daren't count. But no, brought the Mini home again and it's flying, you know. I'm back with full revs, full power. So bring on the next round.
Good stuff, well done. I'd like to see an overall win. What would it take for an overall win? Wet conditions, snow maybe?
No, nothing extreme as snow. If it was raining and it was greasy, then I've been 3rd or 4th before. So I think in the right conditions, I could get an overall win, you know.
That would be great to see. Well done this weekend.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Well, there we go, folks. That's all we have time for from Knockhill Racing Circuit. Please join us next time for a lot more exciting action.